Greetings from EPG Pathshala. In this module, I am going to discuss about authentication attacks. Authentication attacks, the discussion would start with what are the flaws in authentication. In the flaws, we will discuss about the various functionalities which has been available for password checking, how it is vulnerable. Just to put my point emphatically, how many of you would like a web browser to remember your password for a particular site? Many of us, because it gives you a facility called Remember Me. But you have never thought of that this Remember Me functionality can create problems in the further communication. We have certain other functionalities as well, that is forgot password, and then what we do is we give our email address so that the password can be communicated. There are certain common functionalities that we use in the web browsing and how it can create the authentication attacks that we will see in the detail in this module. To start my discussion, the first is when a web application developer develops an application, which are the technologies those are available to implement the authentication mechanism. First is HTML form-based authentication. The second is multi-factor mechanisms such as those combining passwords and physical token. That means you have to pass password as well as you have to give your biometric. Then there is the client SSL certificates and or smart cards, HTTP basic and digest authentication, Windows integrated authentication using Kerberos and authentication services. What you have observed up till now is many of the web applications use HTML forms to capture username and password. It submits it to the application, and this mechanism accounts for 90% of the applications. Password based authentication. Check online banking. What mechanism does it use? It asks the username to give a username and password and other credentials such as PIN or selected characters from a secret word. But HTML forms are typically used to capture the relevant data. Some applications use the SSL certificates. There are certain HTTP based authentication mechanisms such as digest. They are much more commonly encountered in intranet environments where organizers, internal users gain access to corporate applications by supplying their normal network or domain credentials. Application then processes this credential using one of the technologies available. There are third-party authentication services available. To mention one, that is Microsoft Passport, that is occasionally encountered, but this Microsoft Password is not adopted at a large scale. To come to my point of a design flaws in authentication mechanism, means I want to talk authentication functionality is having certain weaknesses. Which are those weaknesses? To start with, the first is bad passwords. The discussion relates to the quality of user's password. What is observed that passwords are usually very short or blank. They are common dictionary words or names. The password is usually same as the username, or password is set to a default value. When a company, the user has bought a product from the company has set a default password and that password is still continued and user has not changed it, so that default password is usually very short or it says there is no password available. Then we come to know that brute forcible login. So these are the bad passwords. They are called bad passwords, as we have seen in the example. The next is called brute force login. It says login functionality presents, or it gives an invitation for an attacker to try to guess the usernames and passwords. And once the attacker is able to guess the username and password, the authorized access is gained for that application. What happens if the attacker makes the repeated login attempt with different passwords until he gets the one? Amateur attacker who manually enters some common usernames and passwords into the browser. There are certain compromises happen with the high profile sites where there are access to hundreds of thousands of real world passwords, and those are used for brute forcible hashes. The most popular real world passwords are self, website name 12345678, QWERTY, ABC 123 111111, monkey 12345, and LET ME in, let me in. Administrative password at least should not be as weak as the user password. Next we are going to talk about remember me functionality. Before we go to remember me functionality, there is one thing called verbose failure message. If there is a login form, it requires user to enter two pieces of information, a username and password. Some applications may require date of birth, a memorable place, or a PIN. When a login attempt fails, what they do is they, in the course, to infer that at least one piece of information was incorrect, application tells that out of the 5 things you entered, which piece of information was invalid. And this behavior can be exploited to considerably diminish the effectiveness of the login mechanism. Further elaborate the point where in a simple case where a login requires a username and password, an application might respond to a failed login attempt by indicating whether the reason for the failure is because of unrecognized username or the wrong password. So if the automated attack is there, then it can iterate through a large list of common usernames to enumerate which ones are valid in case of the verbose message that user is not recognized. Usernames are usually not considered to be a secret. They are not even masked during login, for instance. However, they are not masked means if you try to enter a password, the password is masked with star. So one cannot read out what text is being typed, but username usually goes in a visible text form. So providing this easy means for an attacker to identify valid username increases that the likelihood of compromising the application given enough time, skill and effort has increased. Then comes the next functionality, which says to be the vulnerable transmission credential. Vulnerable transmission character says if an application uses an unencrypted HTTP connection to transmit login credential, an eavesdropper who is suitably positioned on network can intercept them. Depending on user's location, and potential eavesdroppers may reside on the user's local network, within the user's IT department, within the user's internet service provider, on the internet backbone, or within the ISP hosting the application, or within the IT department managing the applications. So even if login occurs over the secure HTTP, that is HTTPS, credentials may be disclosed to unauthorized party if the application is handling those credentials in an unsafe manner. For first point is if credentials are transmitted as query string parameters as opposed to in the body of the post request, these are liable to be logged into various places, such as within user's browser history, within web server logs, within the logs of any reverse proxies employed within the hosting infrastructure. So if attacker is successful in compromising any of these resources, saying user's browser history, user's machine, web server or proxy server, then he may be able to escalate the privileges by capturing the user credentials. Those are stored on those machine. So should we conclude that the post method is more reliable than the get method? Then the argument is most web applications do use the body of the post request to submit the HTML login form itself. Sometimes it is common to observe that the login request being handled by redirect to a different URL with the same credential passed as query string parameters. Why this bounces should be performed is unclear, but having elected to do so, it is easier to implement them as 302 redirects to a URL than as post request using a second HTML form submitted via JavaScript. Web applications sometimes store user credentials in cookies. There are poor mechanisms for handling login, password, change, remember me, and so on. These credentials are vulnerable to capture via attacks that compromise user cookies. User cookies can be persistent or temporary. Persistent cookies, anyone can gain access to the client's local file system and get the persistent cookies. Even if the credentials are encrypted, the attacker still can simply replay the cookie and therefore log in as a user without actually knowing the user's credential. Many applications, when we talk about, they use HTTP for unauthenticated areas of application and switch to HTTPS at the point of login. So the question is when to switch over. The correct place to switch to HTTP is when the login page is loaded in the browser and enabling a user to verify that the page is authentic before user enters the credential. Then we are talking about the password change functionality. We already checked the vulnerable transmission of credential. Going ahead, password change functionality. So many web applications do not provide any way for users to change their password. But this functionality is necessary for the well-designed authentication mechanism. Why? There are two reasons for them. First is periodic enforced password change. That mitigates the threat of password compromise, because if you keep your password same for a longer period of time, it is likely to be compromised. Then periodically change of password reduces the window in which given password can be targeted for a guessing attack. The second point is users who suspect that their passwords may have been compromised, they can quickly change if the password change functionality is given, so that the threat of unauthorized access is reduced. When a developer provides a password change functionality, the care should be taken that it is not vulnerable by design. The password change functions are accessible without authentication, and what do? They provide a verbose error message indicating whether the requested username is valid. The password change functionality allow unrestricted guesses of the existing password field. And third point is the password change functionality check whether the new password and confirm new password fields have the same value only after validating the existing password. So what happens? It allows an attack to succeed in discovering the existing password non-invasively. So if there is a functionality called password change function that includes a relatively large logical decision tree, then the application needs to identify the user, validate the supplied existing password, integrate it with an account, lock out defenses, compare the supplied new passwords with each other and against the password quality rules, feedback any error conditions to the user in a suitable way. Because of all these, password change functionalities are often contain logical flaws that can be exploited. So next we are going to talk about forgot password functionality. It says password change functionality was given in the same way recovering from a forgotten password situation also arises. They also create a problem called username enumeration. Up till now you have got the point. What is username enumeration? Means guessing the usernames one by one. Now this range of defects, design weaknesses in forgotten password functions, they make the weakest link at which to attack the application's overall authentication logic. So when we talk about forgotten password functionality, they have several kinds of design weaknesses. First is forgotten password functionality involves presenting the user with a secondary challenge in place of main login. This challenge is often much easier for an attacker to respond to than attempting to guess user's password. What kind of question usually asked as a secondary challenge? Your mother's maiden name, memorable dates, favorite colors, and the like. They have a smaller set of potential answers than the set of possible passwords. Meaning that if we have to guess passwords, we have to try many possibilities, but if the secondary questions are asked, their answers are usually limited. And these informations are usually the concern information that is publicly known, that a determined attacker can discover with a modest degree of effort. So in many cases, the application allows users to set their own password recovery challenge and response during registration. So doing this, the users are inclined to set extremely insecure challenges. They have the assumption that the attacker will not come to know what their question and answer is. For example, the question is, do I own a boat? In this situation, an attacker who wants to gain access can use an automated attack to iterate through a list of enumerated or common usernames, log all password recovery challenges, and select those that appear to be most easily guessable. The next design flaw in password change functionality is application developers commonly overlook the possibility of brute forcing the response to a password recovery challenge. Even though the developer blocks the attack on the main login page, if an application allows unrestricted attempts to answer password recovery challenge, it is highly likely to be compromised by the attacker. In some applications, the recovery challenge is replaced with a simple password hint that is configured by the users during registration. The users usually give an obvious hint that typically identical to the password itself. And attacker with a list of common enumerated passwords can easily capture a large number of password hints and then starts guessing. The mechanism by which an application enables users to regain control of their account after correctly responding to the challenge, it is also vulnerable. The next point is some applications disclose the existing forgotten password to the user after successfully completion of the challenge. Some applications immediately drop the user into an authenticated session after successfully completion of the challenge. Some applications employ the mechanism of sending unique recoverable URL but send this to an email address specified by the user at the time of challenge. So this provides no enhanced security for the recovery process beyond logging into the message. Now next we want to talk about some applications that allow users to reset their password value directly after successful completion of a challenge and do not send any email notification. So this means that the compromising of an account by an attacker will not be noticed until the owner attempts to log in again. This is how it works. We have a forgot password functionality. In my earlier discussion, I talked about remember me functionality. You all know the applications often implement this remember me functionality for a convenience of users. Because then if remember me is ticked, then users don't have to re-enter their usernames and passwords each time they use the application from a specific computer. These functions are insecure because some remember me functions are implemented using a simple persistent cookie. For example, the cookie is remember user is equal to David. When this cookie is submitted to the initial application page, the application trusts the cookie to authenticate the user, and it creates an application session for that person bypassing the login. What a attacker does, he uses a list of common or enumerated usernames to gain full access to the application without any authentication. To prove this point, there is a Burp Suite Professional is shown. I have used the Burp Suite, the version which is free version available, and it gives me the option like target, proxy, spider, scanner, intruder, repeater, sequencer, decoder, comparer, options and alerts. So to check the remember me functionality, we will check how this Burp Suite is helping. It will show vulnerable remember me function which automatically logs in a user based solely on the username stored in a cookie. Next we will talk about the some remember me functions set a cookie that contains not the username but a kind of persistent session identifier such as remember user is equal to 1328. When this identifier is submitted to the login page, the application looks up the user associated with it and creates an application session for the user. Now, if we talk about ordinary session tokens, if the session identifier of other users can be predicted or they can be manipulated, an attacker can reiterate or iterate through a large number of potential identifiers to gain access. Even if the information stored for re-identifying user is protected, that means encrypted, still information may be vulnerable to capture through a bug such as cross-site scripting. The next is user impersonation functionality, in which some applications implement the facility for a privileged user of the application to impersonate other users. There are various design flaws in this. It may be why this is possible because some banking applications allow help desk operators to verbally authenticate a telephone user and switch their application session into user's context to assist them. There are various design flaws exist within impersonation functionality. It may be implemented as a hidden function which is not subject to proper access control. That means anyone who knows or guesses the URL, for example admin impersonateuser.jsp, he may be able to make use of the function and impersonate any user. The application may trust user controllable data when determining whether the user is performing impersonation. In addition to a valid session token, a user may submit a cookie specifying which account he is currently using. So attacker may be able to modify this value and can access the account. If application allows administrative users to be impersonated, any weakness in the impersonational logic may result in a vertical privilege to be given to the attacker. Some impersonation functionality is simply a backdoor password that can be submitted. So this design is a highly insecure design, and attacker is likely to know what is being the password. There are other vulnerabilities called incomplete validation of credential. Then there is something called non-unique username. It also presents a design flaw, means one user who shares a username with another user may also happen to select the same password at that user. So the application either rejects the second user's chosen password or allows two accounts to have identical credentials. Attacker may exploit this behavior to carry out the successful brute force attack. There are something called predictable usernames. They are like customer 5331, customer 533 use. There is one more thing that is called predictable initial passwords. So predictable initial passwords are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There may be insecure distribution of credentials as well. So we have seen that there are certain authentication flaws which we encounter when we go through the websites, and the only thing we can do is we should be vigilant against all these things and try to save our work, and we have to take the remedial action so that our credentials are not taken by others.